We've all heard of the midlife crisis, but I'd like to turn that around and call it the midlife opportunity. Hello, and welcome to Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. I am so excited to welcome our guest today, Michelle Newman. Thank you for joining us. She is the founder of the New Mid Academy, host of the New Mid podcast, and she's an international life coach. I'm so glad you're with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin. I love being here and I love what you're doing. So I'm glad that I can hopefully give value to your community.
I'm sure you will. So many of us, including myself, or I don't know what midlife is considered, but I am certainly probably there, maybe a little bit past it. But I had a whole experience of my life where I worked for NBC 40, if anyone knows that who's listening, or the local TV station in Atlantic City. They went off the air about 6 years ago, and I was sort of like a deer in headlights. What do I do now with myself? I did this for 30 years. I was on autopilot doing this over and over. And then I had to reinvent and think differently and do something else. And I started this podcast. I work for radio now, but I'm still doing what I love, educating people about health, fitness, and living better. So you do this with your podcast, with your radio program. But what led you to all this?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, it's funny. We have that entertainment in our background together. I worked for over 20 years in the entertainment industry. My last job was vice president of CBS daytime programming and marketing. And so I spent a lot of time in the female midlife women arena. And so we coveted actually 18 to 49. And when I turned 49, I got really depressed because it made me realize, oh my gosh, I'm about to turn invisible. Because advertisers, that's their
18
sweet
to
point, right?
49, and the other one's
Yeah.
25 to 54, as if no one buys anything after the age of 54.
Right. Well, it's interesting too, because in daytime, our audience skewed a little bit older, but the
Hmm.
advertisers still really 18
Why
to
is that? What's
49.
the deal with that? I
Because
don't
they
get it.
feel that most people will buy and they'll
Yes,
change their brand, that they're still like
yes,
searching for what their brand is so they can still influence them. Well, they are learning quickly now that we as Gen Xers, as midlifers, we have some do-re-mi that we're spending, and it's nice to see it changing. But when
yes.
I turned 49, I was really depressed and I thought, I'm turning invisible. I didn't even want a 50th birthday party. Luckily, my mom and my best friend came and surprised me, but it wasn't until I was about 50 and a half, and this is kind of a funny story to have an aha moment, but I was sitting at my daughter. I have two younger daughters, 10 and 12. She was, let's see, she was about 10 at that time, my oldest daughter, and she was doing her spring concert. And I started to have a hot flash. And one of the 30 something moms looked over at me and was like, gosh, Michelle, you're getting really emotional. And I was like, oh, don't worry, you'll get emotional too in my head. But it was one of those light bulb moments where I realized, she's not seeing me as a midlife woman. She's not seeing me as somebody who would have a hot flash. She's just seeing me as a mom. And that made me realize, wait a minute, we are new. We're a new middle-aged demographic now as Gen Xers. We're not our parents midlife. So I was like, I was toying around. And so then figuring out my background, I knew the gentleman who owns the local radio stations, Fred, and I put a packet together because he didn't have any podcasts at the time. And I called him up and I'm like, Fred, I want a meeting. I want to talk to you about something. And he's like, okay, Michelle, come on in. So I went in and I had a whole PowerPoint presentation put together, kind of like what I would have done back in the TV days,
Yeah,
pitching a
sure.
TV show. And he got to page 4 and he's like, let's do this. He could see the value of it. So I started the New Mid podcast, which is friendly advice for the new midlife, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've been able to interview Joan London and Michael Kuchar and some really fun guests, but all with the caveat to help make midlife women realize that this is their time to shine. And in doing that, I had one of my mentors who was watching me say to me, you know what, Michelle, what would that be like if not, you didn't only do a podcast, but if you also became a life coach for midlife women because you're so passionate about it. And it was just like, you are absolutely right. That's what I want to do because I want women to feel empowered. I mean, in midlife, we have all this experience, right? You have all the experience from your past jobs that you've done. We
Sure.
kind of realize now, right? You don't want to put up with any of that. You can't fool us anymore. We've gone through the ups and downs, but we still have so much to give. We still want to grow and learn. We are still climbing. We're not over the hill. And so that's why I want to empower women and make them feel how special they really are. And I'd like to say, we take care of everybody else.
Yes.
We give everybody the whole cookie. When you're handing out cookies and there's the whole nice cookies and there's some that are kind of mangled and we'll like, oh, we'll take that one. Well, you know what? It's our time now to eat the whole cookie.
I like it. That's great. I love that analogy. That's wonderful. And it's true because, and I've talked about this for many years, but as I've gotten older, I've even realized it more that women are sort of the center of the family and kind of take care of all of that stuff. I mean, I don't want to be sexist, but let's face it, let's be truthful about it. Women still handle a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'm the one taking my kids to the doctor and doing all of that. And it does feel many times that, and especially if you have a full-time job, you're being pulled in so many different directions and there's not enough time for you. And when you get into a certain time in your life, maybe the kids are grown, maybe they're out of the house at a certain point, you start to think about, what do I want? What is good for me? And I think a lot of people had that realization over COVID. We had a lot more time to think about things. We weren't running here and there all over the place like we normally do in our regular lives. There were some, as horrible as it's been, some good aspects of it because I had an opportunity to have some dinner with my kids who are now in college, and they were around, they were home, and I spent that kind of time with them. So there are some positives of this whole thing, that we've had a chance to really think, where are we going? What are we doing in our lives? And have you found that with many of your clients?
Yes, they finally want to live the life that they've always wanted to live. And they might not exactly know what does that look like, how am I creating it? But they're tired of being tired. They want the energy, they want to enjoy life. And so I always talk about, okay, let's figure out what is the ideal scenario. Let's paint it. Let's talk about what is your health like? What is your wealth like? What are your relationships like? And then let's act as if. Let's act like, okay, I'm going to show up how I imagine I want to be. And then there are just key little tips that you can do
Hmm.
to help get you there. And it really, a lot of it, it really begins in your mindset, because what you're thinking about situations, how your circumstances are, how someone talks to you, how someone treats you, it all depends on how your mindset is. And you talked about COVID, and my Facebook feed, and I don't know if yours was like this, but I had two pretty distinct groups. Like, I had the group that was really grouchy. Like, they were
Yeah.
like,
This is
what is
miserable. I
going
hate
on? This
it.
is
Yes, right.
horrible. Yeah, exactly. And then I had the other group that literally I watched someone remodel their entire house.
Yes.
Like, they were like, oh, look at how cool the bathroom is. Same exact circumstance that the entire world was facing, totally different mindset.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can apply that with everything. And that's what I think the women in midlife are starting to realize, is like, you know what? Hey, I either don't want to put up what I've been putting up with, or you know what? I need a little more help. Or you know what? It's actually okay for me to think about me now. So it's really an empowering time. And I love that. And so I think that we have more tenacity, and we also are realizing, you know what, it's kind of cool to collaborate with other women. It's kind of cool to like lift other women up, because a lot of times those who have been through the corporate world, climbing that corporate ladder, I mean, we were kind of, okay, I had to pull a few knives out of my back,
Yes. Yes. We all know about that. Yes.
Right. But now in midlife, it's kind of like, okay, who do I know to help you out? And it just feels,
Isn't that
I don't
great?
know,
I
much
have to
more
say that
collaborative.
with this podcast, I'll talk to them like we did before we started recording, and just oh, I know somebody and I can send you someone and we'll share ideas and that sort of thing. It's been very enlightening for me. I really love that other women. I mostly interview women. I talk to some men as well, but I guess it's because I'm a female. I tend to gravitate towards other females who are like-minded, like I am. And I just have been so thrilled with that because I really didn't see a lot of that as I was maybe in my 30s or even my 40s, but I'm starting to see a lot of that now. And a lot of the people I interview are, in their 50s or midlife, as we call it. So it is very interesting to see how women help each other these days, and so great. And so when you're working with, you have this new mid academy. How exactly does that work? What are you doing with people? How did you go through training to do that?
Well, thank you so much for asking about the Academy, because one of the things that is so amazing about the Academy are the women inside it. And, now that we are in midlife, we need that camaraderie, that sisterhood, and through COVID more than ever. And so it's great because being around like minded people, who you surround yourself with, are you surrounding yourself with people who are learning and growing and wanting to expand their minds and do new, exciting things? Or are you around people who are always complaining, who always blame others, who are kind of that victim mentality? And so that's why it's important that you are inspired, that you have mentors, that you have people who are going on their own journeys, but yet want to lift each other up. And that's what the Newman Academy is. We are learning techniques on how to better our lives, how to set really good habits, because your behavior, who you are, is really a culmination of your habits. So, digging deep down into that, what is your identity? What is your self image?
Hmm.
How do you project yourself into the world? How are you showing up? How are you intentionally living your life? Do you set a daily intention every day? What is your morning routine? And it's funny because a lot of the experts out there that are the gurus, that are billionaires and all of that, they have the 5 a.m. club, right? They've been doing this for many, many years. And so it's like, why can't we do it? Why can't us midlife women do that? Get our minds in the right place to have a really productive and a great day. And you know what? Your mind is a muscle. It's something you constantly have to be working on. It's not a one and done. It's not like, okay, I'm going to do some bicep curls and I don't ever need to do them again.
If
No, you
only, if
constantly have
only,
to,
how
right?
nice that would be. Yes.
And that's the same with your mind.
Yes.
Exactly.
So when you work with people, is it one on one? Is it online? Is it in person? How do you do it?
Well, that's a great thing about the Academy, because when I was putting the program together, I wanted not just a membership where it was like, okay, we're a group and we're going to all meet together. The Academy is wonderful. It does meet every single week on Tuesdays via Zoom. My international clients, we meet on Mondays, but via Zoom. It's for an hour. And every month there is a topic that we're going to go over. So, like for instance, in September, our topic was habits. So we really dug deep into that. And then we also read a book that corresponds with it. So we read The Badass Habits by Jen Serino. And the thing that's so great is she actually pulls stuff from Think and Grow Rich, The Big Leap, Atomic Habits. Of course, she's not going to say, I got this from there, but she has her own twist on it, and she has a great way of presenting the material. So everybody was laughing and enjoying it.
That's fun.
And
It's
yeah,
like a
it's
little book club,
really
but you're
fun.
learning,
Yeah,
you're learning something that you can use. Yes.
exactly. And then I'll bring experts in. And like, for instance, we're midlife women. So I brought in a vagina coach.
Are we allowed
Yes,
to say that? Yes, we're not on
yes.
the air.
Oh no, even you
It's
can
on
say
the
it on the
internet.
air. I
Oh,
checked
we
with
can say
my
that now.
radio station just to let you know it's okay. We're not going to
It
get
is
in
a body
trouble.
part.
It is. But I did check. It's okay to say that on air. But, and I've had Laura Langmeyer, who is the millionaire moneymaker, who she's like, has everyone thinking different about their assets, about their generational wealth, and how to raise your kids thinking about money. I've had Dr. Ali on, who's an Ayurveda. So she brings in not only the Western, but the Eastern medicine. So some of the guests have been incredible. I had Dr. Leslie on, who she wrote a book, How to Help Your Aging Parents. because we are in that,
Yes. Oh,
how do you
yes.
talk to your parents
Mhm.
about taking away their car?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a good tip on this. When you're having to deal with your elderly parents, don't tell them what they have to do. Ask them.
Mm.
They have thoughts, they have opinions. But when you start telling them what they have to do, you're making them feel less. You're not
Mhm.
respecting their wishes and their wants. And by asking them questions, you can continue to ask them to get the answers you want.
Yes. I
And
like
then
that.
when they answer the way you want them to, it's a collaborative. It's so much
You're not
better to
pushing
do
them, you're
that.
pulling them.
Right.
You're not, you gotta do this, you gotta get rid of the car, whatever it is. I know, and that's a very touchy topic because 'cause I've interviewed people about that, and it's, people that run, either in-home facilities or they come into your house, they have, caretakers or where you might go to, like, a retirement community, and it is not an easy thing, especially,
It's not.
asking your parents to give up some of their freedom, and, we put yourself in their shoes. I always
Right.
say this is a kind of a funny thing, but whatever age you were every age before that. So when you might look at somebody and see them as an older person, they see themselves as when they were a kid and when they were in their 20s and 30s and 40s. They have a history. They're not
Right.
just that old
Right.
person. And sometimes we tend to judge somebody just, you know, by their appearance and, oh, they're an older person. But they have thoughts and opinions and ideas just like everyone else. And unfortunately, in this country, we don't respect it as much as we should. We're going
Right.
off topic, but that is
Well,
true. We
no, the
don't,
other thing too, though, is like in midlife, us women, we have so many balls that we're juggling, right? We have so many things. I can tell you there was a day, I'm not kidding you, I was signing my dad up for senior daycare, right? Because my mom needs a break. My dad has he has dementia, which is
oh,
really tough. It's
yes,
hard. And
yes.
it's a lot on my mom. So I found a facility that is literally a daycare for seniors with the on the beginning signs of dementia. So I was on the computer signing him up for that. As soon as I finished that, I had to then go on the computer and sign my daughter up for field hockey.
The
So,
sandwich
I mean,
generation. We are the
yes,
sandwich generation. You're
doing the
kind of in
same thing.
between.
And
Yes.
so I always tell my clients, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace because you are juggling a lot of different balls. And also the other thing is when you can, get help. Bring in your siblings, bring in your spouse. If your kids are old enough, they can do their own laundry, get them set up. You don't have to do everything. You
Yes, very,
can
very good
delegate.
tips. And a lot of
It's
times
so
when your kids
important,
are younger, you've just gotten used to doing all those things. My daughter's
right?
18 now. She should be doing her own laundry, but guess who still does it, right?
Guess
Just
who does
because I
their
always say,
laundry at 10 and 12?
"Oh, you got her
My
doing it."
daughters do their
Well,
own
I
laundry.
need you as a coach just for that. Just to help me get somebody to do the laundry with me. But, she's I I try to help her out, I guess, a little bit. She just started college, so that's a big change in her
Oh,
life.
well,
So I'm sort of giving her a little bit
I'm
of
sure
time.
I'll be getting my daughters coming home from college with big laundry
Oh,
baskets, I'm
you'll be
sure.
thrilled to be able to do
And I
that, right?
can't wait.
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
got to get through braces and car
Well,
insurance. So,
you're in that other phase. I just got through that. So I'm in the next phase right now. But wherever
yeah,
you are in your life, I still think as women, we need to really think a little bit more about ourselves, our own needs, what we love to do, and try to find time to fit it in. That's a big mantra of mine. We sometimes make time for silly things. I wouldn't say silly, but we don't always realize that there's more time in the day than there is. We think,
right,
oh, we're so jammed in here and there, but we can squeeze it in, maybe get up a little bit earlier, as you
right,
said, get a
right.
little fitness in, or just find that extra hour, whatever it might be, to just find a little time to chill or relax. That's just as important as exercise and everything
It
else.
is. Well, it's so important to give yourself just an extra half hour in the morning before everybody wakes up so that you can get your intention set for the day. You can, drink your warm lemon water. That's the first thing you should drink in the morning. because it goes in acidic, but it goes into your gut as alkaline. So it really helps replenish your organs and everything after they've been sleeping. You're talking to the choir, lady.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so
awesome.
after you drink your warm lemon water, you set an intention for the day. You give yourself some mind space. Give yourself maybe, if you can't do it for 5 minutes, do it for ten minutes, just to breathe. Like, there's these different type of breaths, like pranayama breathing you can do. Just get yourself, and then stretch a little bit. We really need to make sure that we stretch and that we take care of our posture. And if you just do those simple things,
Yes, and you are
it will
preaching to the
set your
choir. I love all
day.
that stuff.
Yeah, it will set your
Yes,
day straight. So it's amazing how just that tiny tweak can make a huge difference.
I
And then
took a
the other thing,
course one time
my
called.
other caveat really quick, is getting 7 to 8 hours sleep.
Oh, and so many people don't, and so many people don't. I am a night owl, so that's something that I've been working on because I come awake at night. I always was like that, even as a kid. So that's when I'll work on my computer at 11 o'clock at night. I'm coming up with great ideas, and then the next morning I'm like, oh, I'm tired. So that's definitely, I have to shift it a little bit. But we all are a work in progress, as I say. No one is perfect. We're trying to get there, but no one has it all figured out. I don't care if you're the
No.
most beautiful, if you're the richest celebrity, no one has it all figured out. No one has it all together. There's something, I always see these celebrities and everyone thinks, oh, they're so perfect. They might not have a good relationship with their kids or their parents, or they're getting divorced, or there's something going on in their lives that isn't just great. And, just because they have all this external stuff that we see, it's not always perfect. We can't live up to that ideal. We have to do what's best for us in our world. So you have also, because of the fact that you are this life coach, you were trained in this. What kind of training did it take to become a life coach?
Well, it's interesting that you asked me that, because I don't have an actual certification. And a lot of people, are like, oh, what's a certification? And it's interesting because there will be people out there that can give a life coach certification, and it might not really mean what you think it means. So for me, I'm a big studier. So I went into study mode before I did this. And I spent thousands of dollars and thousands of hours studying the gurus in life coaching. So when it was interesting, when the pandemic hit, some of the really big coaches, like the Tony Robbins, the Dean Grazadehs, the Pete Vargases, the JJ Virgin, I can go on and on. They were giving their courses for free. So guess what I did? I jumped in and I took advantage and wrote and studied as much as I possibly could. And then I hired a coach to help me coach.
I
So
love that.
I paid
Yes.
a ton of money to get a coach to help me coach.
That was
And
you
then,
remodeling your house. That was the time
yes,
you spent. Yes. I
exactly,
love it.
exactly. And I have a coach now. So I think it's important to learn and to grow and to constantly, you know, um, check in to see if things are working. And I have to say, I am so blessed. I have a 100% retention rate with my academy. I have amazing clients. And I think one of the things that has been so, I talked about this earlier, but the camaraderie, the sisterhood, the collaborations, it's exploding. It's amazing what's happening in the group with that, because I will lead them to the water. I will give them the lessons, the worksheets, the books to study. We do different courses where I might, one week I might do a lot of the talking, and then the next week they're actually working in the session. Like, I have them doing a lot of work themselves. So it's just really gelling. And again, I talk about everything we need to worry about in midlife, everything from your elder parents to your body, to your vagina, to, to your relationships, to, how you are with yourself. Because really, it's all about your self identity, your self love, your self image. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like not good the way you are right now. I mean, when you're working on yourself, it's not throwing away who you are. It's just peeling some of the layers away to be your more authentic self and just a better, more magnified version of that.
A better you. Why not? I
Yeah.
love all of that. And if someone listening would like to participate, talk to you, learn more about your program, where can they reach you?
Well, I love that because I'm all about getting results. So I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me. Everything I'm at is the new mid. So I have the newmid.com, but especially I have a wonderful big group, Facebook group, the new mid private Facebook group. I would love for you to join there. Or you know what, you can reach out to me, email me, Michelle at the thenewmid.com. I'd love to talk to you.
Couldn't
Or I'm
be
also on
easier.
Instagram, the new mid,
It
where I
couldn't
have a
be
lot of good
easier.
I have a lot of good tips on my Instagram too that you can come on over.
Look
So,
up the new mid, and you're out of the Washington area or
yeah, Maryland.
Maryland area? Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So you're
Yep.
not far from us here in Jersey. So, well, we thank you so much for joining us today. I learned a lot. First time we ever said the word vagina on one of my podcasts. So that's a new one for me. But, as we said, it is a body part, so you can talk about that. And you're helping women in my age group, your age group, to just become better versions of themselves. So that's what it's all about. Michelle
Yep.
Newman. Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much, Robin.
Thank you, Michelle Newman, the new mid. And thank you for joining me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. Don't forget to subscribe so I can keep you posted on my most recent episode. Until I see you next time, please stay safe and keep living well.